My name is Asha Sampath and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. And as usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Creating mobile applications without excessive costs is possible in Nairobi thanks to innovative solutions.
I actually ventured into no-coding during the period when Corona hit. Okay, so we were locked down in our houses. We didn't have anything to do.
Morocco achieves its renewable energy targets by focusing on solar power with the construction of new power plants.
Le Maroc peut être, grâce à ces projets.
With its experience in the projects it is currently developing, Morocco could become a focal point for investors in energy production. Actors from Morocco and the rest of the Maghreb that export energy to Europe.
What you need to know while signing a contract in the Ohada area. In Business Law is Your Business, we provide valuable advice to entrepreneurs.
There needs to be a mutual agreement. I should not be signing a contract under duress.
Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, these three countries are leading a new movement focused on codeless technology for the creation of mobile applications. These applications, accessible from smartphones, are creating jobs and generating growth, but they can also be very expensive to develop. The solution, a so-called low-code or no-code technology which saves prohibitive development costs by creating applications without coding. Well, almost. Our journalist Edwin Kariuki visited some of the inventors of these solutions of the future in Nairobi.
Maureen Esther Achieng is wading through uncharted waters and creating a path that she believes will be beneficial to the next generation of techies. In her Nairobi apartment, she begins her day at midday, a day spent teaching students from all over the globe how to code easily.
Only 0.3% of the world's population can create software. That leaves 99.7% of the world's potential going to waste. And that is why no-code is so huge, because no-code is now empowering non-tech people to be able to participate in tech.
She is emerging as an authority in this field that she stumbled upon in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now she spends her days teaching other young people the art of creating apps using low or no code at all.
Like you would tell someone I build apps without coding and they will look at you like, how do you do that? I still get such reactions, but the more we talk about it, the more I talk about apps that have been built without code, like Richard, Duelito, Yadguru, Studio Time, Wheel Price. All these are global app businesses that have been launched without code, Revitize, New Notions, all these. So the more I talk about that, the more people understand that actually this can be done without writing a single line of code.
The no-code movement, as she calls it, is relatively new here in Kenya. Only a handful of students have shown interest in learning the ropes of creating mobile applications. Andrew Kisilu is one such man.
So what I seek to do is solve common people's problems with an aim of bettering their lives and bettering our lives altogether.
Andrew isn't your traditional techie. He is more at home on the football pitch where he plays soccer. But the COVID-19 pandemic closed the pitch and saw him hang up his boots, albeit begrudgingly. To while away the time, he joined Maureen's class. He says the technology is helping him stay away from mischief while offering solutions to many like him.
I actually ventured into no-coding during the period when Corona hit. Okay, so we were locked down in our houses. We didn't have anything to do. And me being a major part of my day being taken by football, I was unable to go on with my day-to-day activities. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And what happened is through a friend of mine, I got to learn about the no-code movement.
Andrew, just like his mentor and trainer, believes that Kenya and Africa are ripe for the no-code revolution. The ability to create mobile apps that offer solutions to local problems is being touted as a game changer in the way small businesses operate.
I have seen people digitize their knowledge in so many ways, but just building apps, educational apps, social apps, business apps, using no-code. So we have to get away from this mindset of how is it going to put food on my table.
I've seen how much we struggle with connecting with top professional coaches. What happened is I felt the urge to tap into this problem we have. If I can be able to offer a kid somewhere an opportunity to connect with a top coach because they are actually talented, and also help the coaches because they are actually pretty committed with their day-to-day activities. So if I'm able to bridge that gap, bring the player to the coach, and have the coach look at the player without actually taking them or derailing them away from their day-to-day activity.
The disruption caused by the uptake of this type of coding has been met with skepticism and outright rejection by the more traditional coders. Maureen believes there's enough room for both to coexist.
The people who are creating these no-code tools are software developers, yeah? So the smart software developers are already creating these tools to empower non-tech people, while others are thinking, oh, you're now taking my job, oh, you're not as competent as I am. It shouldn't be that way. Of course, there's been a lot of backlash, but it's out of lack of knowledge, yeah? And there shouldn't be a war between non-tech and tech people.
Techpreneurs equipped with these coding skills like Andrew are not only offering solutions, but are also finding a way to earn and save that extra coin, money that would have been used to pay traditional coders to develop the same solutions at a much heftier cost.
First is speed. I mean, you can launch an app in a night, depending with how competent you are. So you don't need traditional coding. It will take you at least 2 to 8 months before you actually build a single app, depending also on the app idea. So one of the most advantageous things about no-code is speed, and then the next thing is cost, because building a traditional app, it will require you at least not less than $10,000 to build that app.
Low-code developers are optimistic that the trend that is emerging will enable the majority of the youth in Africa, many of whom do not have training in IT, to get their hands on tools that will level the playing ground and give them a chance to compete on the global stage.
Where you have mighty networks, you will have
It's impossible to talk about information technology without mentioning connectivity. In West Africa, Orange and its subsidiaries are going to give a huge boost to broadband in the region with Joliba, the first Pan-African backbone. Operated and maintained from Dakar, it will cover 8 countries from Senegal to Nigeria via Liberia. It will be the first unified very high-speed network for countries hitherto without direct cross-border connection. It will be based on a network of terrestrial optical fibers coupled to submarine cables. 450 public development banks gathered for the first time at the summit. It was in Paris on November 12th during the Peace Forum. The institutions are committed to redirecting their investments and financial flows. Priority: meet the climate and development objectives set by the UN and the Paris Agreement. The African Development Bank and Senegalese President Macky Sall were on hand to make the continent's voice heard. I was there too. Here is an extract.
We need financing coalition, we need financing complementarity, and we need financing consolidation. The public development banks are such a powerful platform for this. If we can focus and align, that's where we are today. Let's be bold, let's be creative, let's build this new ecosystem for transformative change.
L'effort est considérable, il faut le reconnaître. Mais pour une meilleure efficacité de leur action, les banques de développement devraient davantage améliorer leurs mécanismes d'intervention par la simplification de leurs procédures et formalités, aider à une évaluation plus juste de la perception du risque d'investissement en Afrique pour réduire les primes d'assurance indûment élevées. Assurer une meilleure coordination de leur intervention de façon à faciliter l'allocation optimale des ressources dédiées au financement des grands projets de développement.
And also it's good to remind that PDBs, public development banks, invest $2.3 trillion each year, or 10% of total world investment. Well, let's now turn to the north of the continent. Morocco is on track to meet its solar energy production targets. It is expected to deploy an additional 2,000 megawatts by next year. The kingdom has decided to increase the share of clean energy in electricity production to 42% by next year, and it plans to launch several solar projects during the year. A quick update on these ambitions with this report by Teddy Emmer.
Mohammed VI, the King of Morocco, says he wants to end the country's dependence on imported energy. As the kingdom has neither gas nor oil, 90% of its energy requirements come from abroad. The wind farms, dams and solar installations should produce 6,000 megawatts of power, 40% of Morocco's current energy requirements. The Ain Beni Matar thermal solar plant in northeastern Morocco, close to the Algerian border, is a keystone of a new strategy that may well make the country a net exporter of energy.
Morocco
intends to export the energy it produces from solar power, as well as other sources, to Europe or sub-Saharan Africa. We are also keen to capitalize on projects like this to promote South-South integration and cooperation.
The African Development Bank is the project's principal financial partner, providing 80% of the investment for the plant, a total of approximately $370 million. The Ain Beni Matar plant was inaugurated by King Mohammed VI in 2008. With its proximity to the Maghreb-Europe gas pipeline as well as a power line, the location of the site is ideal, making it possible to transfer the power produced directly onto the national grid. Above all, this site has an average of 300 days of sunlight a year. It is also the first hybrid thermal solar installation in Africa, combining gas and solar power. Environmental factors were key in designing the 470 megawatt plant that already provides 13% of the kingdom's electricity.
We use natural gas, which is the cleanest fuel energy-producing fuel. We rigorously monitor atmospheric emissions from the chimneys, and we are below the limit. That's a good thing, as the installation does not have a harmful effect on the environment.
The plant's solar panels cover an area of more than 200 acres. In a matter of years, the country could be self-sufficient in energy and no longer at the mercy of fluctuating oil prices. With innovations in green energy production, the kingdom also aims to showcase the best of what renewable energies have to offer and attract others keen to benefit from its experience and know-how.
With its experience in the projects it is currently developing, Morocco could become a focal point for investors in energy production. Actors from Morocco and the rest of the Maghreb that export energy to Europe. We are interconnected and are already set to exchange thermal energy. This is also an opportunity for Europe to take advantage of sites with huge renewable energy potential.
Morocco's strategy to produce renewable energy using photovoltaic is highly innovative. But to achieve self-sufficiency, the kingdom, already connected to Spain and Algeria, has still some time to go to become a major energy hub for both sides of the Mediterranean.
You on Business Africa? Welcome back to the second part of our show. In Côte d'Ivoire, outgoing President Alassane Ouattara was re-elected with 94% of the vote. But exporters fear political tensions will affect cocoa deliveries from producers. They noted supply cuts in the ports of Abidjan and San Pedro. The cocoa sector represents 15% of Ivorian GDP. Let's now head for Nigeria. This West African economic giant has been weakened from several weeks of youth protests against police brutality in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The movement's demands also target the authorities and the economic elite of the country, which led to violence and scenes of looting, including rice warehouses. To analyze the situation, I'm joined from Lagos by William Erumabo, senior economist at the think tank Nigeria Economic Summit Group. William Erumabo, thank you for joining me on Business Africa to talk about the social unrest in Nigeria. What is the impact of the current pandemic and also weeks of demonstrations on the economic stability of Nigeria?
And in the fourth quarter, we saw how protests started across different parts of the country. And that also, is one of the key shocks to the system as well, because it's not even expected. It wasn't really anticipated that it would come at this time. And during the protest, there was a lot of blockade, road blockage. People couldn't move around. We saw goods, stuck, in different parts of the country. So that's in itself. And mind you, this is an economy that is still feeling the impact of COVID. We're still trying to see how we can reduce the negative impact. And with that protest coming in on board, it means that there's still a long road to recovery as far as the Nigerian economy is concerned. If you add this to things like inflation, prices of goods has been increasing steadily since last year. Inflation is currently at about 13.7%. If you add this to the fact that government revenues is also facing pressure, there's mounting unemployment, increase in unemployment rate, and then you have things like poverty as well also coming on. So these are all key concerns for the economy, that the road to recovery is not here now. It's still going to take a while for the economy to adjust and, if possible, maybe get back to the way it was before.
President Muhammadu Buhari has called for negotiation. What are the economic and social reforms objectives of the young demonstrators?
The main summary is basically to see how the country can reform its police system to be able to ensure that the young people have a voice. The young people can express themselves in different ways. I also think that it's very important for engagement, for us to have youth engagement at this time. There's need for continuous discussion, ensuring that young people's voices are heard, whether in terms of economic planning, whether in terms of social planning, and more importantly, also ensuring that we have good governance in Nigeria. We get to a point where young people, even those that are not within the youth age, can also see continuous and increasing benefits of governance. Okay, there are things like infrastructure, things like education, healthcare for the poor and less privileged. So it's more of social and economic reforms to ensure that every Nigerian has or have a better life.
What would your think tank recommend to make this dialogue successful, and what are the reforms Nigeria need the most?
There's a huge disconnect, a social imbalance in the country. The fact that you have a couple of people that are rich, and then you have a large number of people living below poverty line, 40% if you go by the National Bureau of Statistics, 40% of Nigerians live below the poverty line. And that's a huge number. We're talking about over 80 million Nigerians. If you then look at unemployment, very high unemployment rate, and it's even increasing with all the pandemic and all that. So this is the best time for us to discuss social inclusion, the best time for us to see how we can improve and start creating jobs for our youth, how we can strengthen our education system, strengthen our healthcare system. There is no better time than now for us to see how we can embrace technology to develop key areas of our economy. The other thing is also on security. There's no way we can talk about investments coming into the country if there's the perception that think people are not secure, those investments are not secure wherever you are in the country. And also, I think we need to start looking at areas of power, infrastructure, and some of those ease of doing business reforms, how to make the business environment more friendly.
Thank you very much, William Erumabo. Can free trade save Africa from post-COVID recession? The question is topical as an extraordinary summit of the African Union is being held this week. Entirely virtual, this summit, which had been delayed in the spring because of the pandemic, will finish ratifying the terms of application of the Treaty of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The treaty provides for the elimination of a large part of tariff barriers as of January 1st. Have you just signed a contract? Well, this is only the beginning of your relationship with your business partners. How to approach contract agreements and avoid conflicts in a business relationship? We have the answers to your questions with David Thiombiano in this second report of our series, Business Law is Your Business. Take a look.
Building a dam, a school, a road, a clinic, ordering equipment for various administrations. These are all likely to be the subject of calls for tender. A successful bid means contracts need to be drawn up and signed. It's the dream of every entrepreneur.
It's always a pleasure to sign a contract because it's money in the bank, a company's raison d'être. But the counterpart is the pressure to provide results and to succeed.
But how many businesses know how to see a contract through from beginning to end, without encountering major obstacles on the way, sticking to deadlines, and with the service quality stipulated in the terms and conditions? For administrations, the quality the contractors provide often proves to be a stumbling block.
In fact, contractors and suppliers have problems with funding. Very often we don't have qualified skilled workers, and a lot of foreign nationals from the sub-region come to work in Mali. Because in some fields we just can't find skilled workers. Then there's the problem of guarantees. A lot of the businesses here are more or less artisanal, and their structure is not always in line with expected norms.
A contract drawn up with a government, an organization, or a supplier must not only provide guarantees concerning the resolution of the conflict, it must also ward off potential arguments. It must clearly state the objectives to be obtained, the various parties' obligations, the cost of the service in question, not to mention payment and delivery deadlines. The contract also stipulates the competent bodies in the event of conflict. In other words, everything is done to ensure litigation takes place within a certain legal framework. And as such, a business contract is a guarantee, a form of protection. But certain conditions need to be met for a contract to be valid.
It is essential that the signatory is actually competent when signing the contract. There needs to be a mutual agreement. I should not be signing a contract under duress. If that is the case, the contract is null and void.
Before signing, it is, of course, essential to carefully study the contract's terms and conditions to make sure it is fair and feasible and to follow expert advice.
We make sure the party we are drawing up a contract with, the buyer, has sufficient liquidity to honor the contract. It's a question of trust. Once the contracts have been drawn up, they are officially registered. This is vital. Otherwise, what is there to stop me signing one contract today and producing a totally different one tomorrow?
It is one thing to sign a contract, yet another to successfully see it through. Failure to respect delivery deadlines can trigger a whole raft of administrative sanctions. But the fault does not always lie with the enterprise that signed the contract.
Si le contrat, par exemple, doit être exécuté dans un délai de 30 jours et que
if the contract has to be honored within a 30-day period, and in agreeing to the deadline you're counting on correspondents responding within 48 hours, well, if there are administrative holdups, you'll find yourself being penalized.
Events such as acts of God or force majeure can adversely affect the outcome of a contract. The details of a call for tender may, for example, specify the use of a certain type of material, but when it comes to fulfilling the contract, the material may no longer be available. Similarly, a strike may delay delivery of the material required, or adverse weather conditions may hold up work. A contract can never be 100% watertight, but whatever the situation, there are pre-established frameworks for dialogue and rights of appeal.
When you get the feeling that a company is struggling, you need to help that company solve its problems. You need to think ahead. You need to submit letters of intent to make sure people understand that there are problems ahead. So we take an objective approach to trying to help find a solution so the contract can be honored.
As a rule, the enterprise receives an advance to start work. The Treasury must be expertly managed to make sure cash flow issues do not adversely affect the successful completion of the contract.
Once you've been awarded a contract, the first payment you receive is not actually your money. It is not to settle previous problems and pay for services due.
Faire de votre mieux pour que ce que vous avez eu comme gain, ce qu'on appelle les acomptes, puisse être.
You need to be in the field to see the work is being done and make sure you do the best job with what you have.
Moins non, juste ou plus de ce que vous avez reçu.
A contract that is honored is, literally and figuratively, money in the bank for the enterprise and a gateway to other opportunities. Likewise, a company that defaults on its contract can end up losing money, being sued, and ultimately blacklisted. It's a word to the wise.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 538, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question. What percentage of its energy needs does Morocco import? 90%, 75%, 45%. Second question. Who should sign a commercial contract? The administration, the judge, or both parties? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website, africaonair.com, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 538. The winner will receive $150. As our winner this week, congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 534. Here are the details. First question. What does Francis Wachira, a Kenyan farmer, grow? Answer, everything. Second question. Where does most of the Beninese population live? Answer, south of Benin. That's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel with Initiative Africa. We'll talk to the director and producer Blaise Pascal Tanguy, who will tell us about his African Film Festival in Paris, L'Afrique fait son cinéma. In the meantime, you can catch this program on our website, africaonair.com, and all our social media channels, and feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Goodbye.